Do you think he's like a legit Trump supporter?
Yes.
Yeah.
We know Trump supporting Trump before you were supporting Trump.
Oh, he was?
You tweeted that Trump was disgusting.
Wait a second. So
Rubio
Nick has always been a Trump supporter, and Nick.
Okay.
I thought you didn't know. Wait, let's play the tape. Let's see what Nick actually said about Trump when it mattered. Let's see what Nick actually said.
Your own tweet. You said
Yo, what? Yo, what?
You said vote for Cruz and Rubio.
No way.
You disingenuous fool. Let's see some of your own tweets.
This is what running the clock looks like.
Just
Just want to let you know that.
There's donors behind you.
America first! 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 America first!
Where's the signal?
America first! America first! America first! America first! America first!
Boomer.
Get to the white line, bro!
Oh shit!
What a turn on shit, guys! This guy eats big corn.
What did he say?
Given that your interpretation of traditional conservative values stems from 1965 on immigration and 2015 on race, I'd like to know, how long do we have to wait until child drag shows are pushed as American traditional conservatism?
Let me answer. I'm going to answer that question. So, I get a lot of crap, and I've been getting a lot of crap from people in this room about being a gay conservative. And let me be very clear right now. No, you're not. But okay, that's great. But let me
He
address
served in the United States military. That's what he conserved, my friend.
How about
he served in the military while you're a coward and you go to the front of the line.
How about
he
I
went to
conserve this
Iraq
country,
to protect
dude?
our freedoms
How about
while
I
you
conserve
go up
this
talking
country,
about
dude?
conserving our country.
Your freedoms when I was fighting in Iraq for you. How about that? Is that a good enough answer about what I conserve? So let me be clear, because I want to address what he's saying, because I think that there's a valid point in what he's saying, even though what he's saying is crap. So there's this idea that there's a lot of crap going on in the far, I call it the LGBT alphabet soup left, that myself as a gay conservative is like pushing back on. The child drag queen stuff is garbage, okay? The drag kid stuff is garbage. Trans kids is garbage, okay? And so I get crap from the right for being a quote-unquote fake conservative, and I get crap from the left when I stand up against that stuff and say that we need to calm that stuff down because it is not doing anything for America. As a matter of fact, I think that child drag queens and I think that trans kids, quote-unquote, are destructive to the fabric of this country. I absolutely believe that. So not to address a troll, but I need to say, as a gay conservative, myself and the Ricky Rebels of the world and the Scott Pressers of the world, we're the only ones in that community that are standing up against that crap and calling it for what it is. So if you don't think that you need us in the movement, these people on the left, the alphabet soup is going to do a lot of crazy stuff, and we need to pull them back in line, period. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Next
Yeah, I'm a little sick, so I'm sorry about my voice, but I have two quick questions, very quick. Do you believe in free speech? Absolutely.
Well, look, I believe every individual has freedom of speech, but also part of freedom of speech is you have the freedom to associate with who you want to associate with. You can say, I want to listen to certain things, I don't want to listen to certain things, as an individual. And I believe the solution to hate speech is more speech. As we're demonstrating tonight, we literally say if you disagree, you're allowed to go to the front of the line. I think we're practicing what we preach.
That's not true. We're not at the front of the line.
Well, if you disagree, then go to the front of the line. You all disagree. Well, then, fight over it. Next one.
All right.
So that next question. Thank you. You got one question. Thank you. Thanks. One question. You don't want him in the conservative movement. I just want to be very clear. Let's just be. Rob,
So you don't want me in the movement.
hold on a sec. I want to be very clear. Hold on a sec. You're bringing some very charged language. I'm going to try to calm down the temperature in the room, so I can try to rationally understand an irrational position.
Why should we
Let me finish.
compromise our fundamental beliefs?
Let me finish. So, I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible is the greatest book ever to exist in the history of the world. And I believe Rob Smith has decency and dignity as an individual in the United States of America. Hold on a second. We're not a theocracy. We never have been.
And you know what? And wait a minute. Let me hop in here. Hold on, because I'm in it. He's addressing me. The thing that I don't understand. Well, I'm addressing you. How about that?
You don't even have the courage to address the gay man on stage.
So the problem that I have with as somebody that is a gay Christian, and this is the problem that I have, because my relationship with God and coming back into the church over the past year and a half is one of the greatest gifts that has been given to me in terms of being in this movement. So my question to everybody who tries to say that, oh, you shouldn't be, Christian because you're gay. Why are you trying to turn people away from God? So if you love God, and Christianity is so right, because I do love God, so why would you be trying to turn me away? Why would you be trying to turn me away from God?
So we're going to get
another thing, and one thing that I don't do,
question.
And one thing that I don't do is that there is no man that is of this earth that is going to tell me what God has for me and how much God loves me. So goodbye.
I'm going to let the gay man answer.
Wait a minute. So can I ask you a question? Can you have the balls to ask the gay man on the stage that question and don't defer to him? Ask me that question. I will answer you that question. I'm going to answer you. You already asked the question, so I'm going to answer that question. I'm going to ask you that question. This is America. This is the greatest freaking nation in the world. We realize that America is great because we have Western values. We realize that, let me finish, dude. We realize that gays and lesbians are able to contribute to American society in the same way that everybody else is. And let me tell you, when you continue doing that, okay, you realize that we are here. We are able to do everything. And let me tell you something as well. I served in the military, right? I served 5 years. I did an Iraq tour. What's up?
How does homosexual sex help us win the culture war?
Who said homosexual sex helps you win the culture war?
That is the question that I'm asking. Why are you promoting it?
Well, it's a BS question, and you know it is. It's a question that is not it's not a good faith question.
So I'm going to be honest.
Question.
Rob, honestly, I don't care what two consenting adults do. So that's
the whole thing.
And your hyper focus on it is kind of weird. Thanks for being here.
You seem to be really interested in gay sex. I'm pretty sure if you're into that, you can go find somebody to do it with. I don't know, maybe. Next question.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Mr. Kirk.
And wait a minute. Let me. This is my first culture war, so I want to say that I have to make a statement. And I'm not here to tell anybody what to think or what to believe, but for me, somebody like that doesn't really have any place in the conservative movement because it's something that is so behind the times. And you can boo and you can do whatever you want to, baby, because I'm going to be me, and I'm still here.
Where's the land they give up?
I'm sorry?
Where's the land that they give
Gaza. So 10,000 Jews were stormed out of their houses in 2005 in the pursuit of peace with a peace negotiation with the Palestinian Authority. And guess what they got in return? Rockets, missiles, and suicide bombers. In the 1970s, they gave up the entire Sinai Desert for a peace negotiation with Egypt. And guess what? That's one of the few ones that might have almost worked. Finally, Israel has given up land in the West Bank. The only time that Israel actually is able to defend their borders and defend their sovereignty is when America stands with this country, the country that has made the world a better place. And I will say this, the world is a better place because of Israel. The medical patents, the technological breakthroughs, their respect for human rights, their humanitarian aid. Israel is a country that gets such unfair criticism and accusation from particularly academia. They are not a country without flaws. However, I'm so fascinated that while they are surrounded by a sea of totalitarianism, when they're surrounded by countries like Saudi Arabia, that if a Christian or a Jew dared profess their faith in the streets of Riyadh, they won't be living much longer. If someone in the streets of Tehran, is a pastor, they'll get locked up indefinitely. The Middle East is the worst when it comes to human rights, and yet there's this jewel, this crown jewel, where you are allowed to practice any religion you see fit, where you have the freedom of movement, the freedom of commerce, the freedom of private property, and yet that country's under attack. And I'm going to say something that gets me a lot of blowback. I'm going to tell you why it gets it. Because it has half the world's Jews. Over 2,000 years, one thing that is common. It is the common theme of anti-Semitism. There is an anti-Semitic nature to the critique of Israel. People disagree with me when I say with it, but why is it that the country that has half the world's Jews, there's only 13 million Jews in the world, and the singular country that does the most for humanitarian, the most for military and defense in the Middle East, that's the country that comes under harsh and total accusation. I appreciate you being here tonight. I'm not sure if we're going to find... We have been able to show that people can come from all over the world and be able to basically get along the best possible way. We are the most diverse country in the world. Now, I think there's something to be said that, well, certain urban areas such as New York City and Los Angeles, they're busting at the seams. Real estate prices are going up at such a, escalating rate, and I would attribute a lot of that to a uncontrolled, porous southern border, a lot of it. But also, you look at the million legal people we let into our country. Look, I think the chain migration visa lottery, that's not what our immigration system should be based around. Our immigration system should be based around what is best for our country. Entrepreneurs, people that come with merit, good ideas, and I think that we should build our immigration system based around that. So I'll kind of maybe disagree based on the displacement of a native population, but I think we might be able to find some
Do you think it was a good idea to change the 200-year precedent of European immigration in 1965?
I don't know enough about that. I do know that we spiked to 1 million in the early 1990s.
We changed it from mainly Europeans to whoever wanted to come in.
So
and they promised it wouldn't change.
So outside of Europeans, I'm going to push back on this idea of European ethnicity. I will say, let's take a continent that has had a lot of legal immigration to this country, and I think has made America a better place. Vietnamese, South Koreans.
Could you name another country?
Japanese, Indonesians, Indians, Bangladeshis, Filipinos. Those are a couple countries, right?
Could you name another country that's had an influx where the natives have been
and there's a reason
minority?
for that, because America's the only country that has this specific set of ideas, and that actually, I think, what makes us exceptional. And so if we want to be Japan, which is the furthest extrapolation of your argument, I'm not saying that's what you believe, and I'm going to have to get to the next question, but the furthest extrapolation of your argument is Japan, which takes in no immigration whatsoever. None. I don't think that's what is right for America. I don't. They have a declining aging population. They have a 327% debt to GDP ratio. I don't think that's what in the American spirit. I don't think that's what makes us competitive. I don't think that's the right thing for the country. However, I do think that no uncontrolled, unlimited immigration with no barriers whatsoever on chain migration and visa lottery and a porous southern border, that does not make America a better
question. Yeah, what a racist question that was. So I got a quick and fun, lighthearted question for you, Charlie. So I know you gave a speech in Jerusalem earlier this year.
Yes, I did.
Were there any awesome, fun dance parties that you guys had afterwards? Because I heard that Israelis are some of the best dancers in the world. I mean, if you guys don't believe me, just Google dancing Israelis. It's insane how good their dance moves are. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Israel's a beautiful country, a great country too.
It is. They're our greatest ally.
Correct. Thanks for being here tonight. Next question. Thank you for being here.
Hello. So my name is Patrick Casey. I'm an American nationalist and America First patriot. And thanks, guys. So, and despite all of that, despite my ardent support for the president and his policies, I was actually kicked out of CPAC earlier this year.
But I didn't kick you out of this event.
No, I'm not going to blame. I'm not going to blame you.
Just making sure.
Yeah. You're very defensive here. I get that. As was my good friend Nicholas J. Fuentes, whom I believe you were just discussing up there. But look, I'm not going to blame you for that.
I just want to make sure.
I've got a question here.
Is that the troll that keeps tweeting about?
He's not a troll. He's a very intelligent guy who has a lot to say. He's somewhat of a troll, but
he seems to be getting a lot of you guys to say stuff for him tonight. So.
I don't debate trolls.
I think we've been debating them all night.
Right, so I'm just citing CPAC's decision to remove American nationalists from their conference. I'm not blaming you for that. I'm moving it into something.
I don't run CPAC either.
Right, and I just said that I'm not blaming you. I've said that 3 times. So, but you do run TPUSA, and TPUSA did remove its relationship with Ashley St. Clair, who all she really did was take a picture with Nick Fuentes. She was in the same room. So, my question to you, Charlie, is as someone who, purports to be pro-debate, free speech, and, the exchange of ideas, do you support blackballing people based on having controversial opinions or being even in the same room when a photograph is taken with someone who has controversial opinions? And the second part of that question is, if the answer is no, will you debate me on immigration, identity, and demographics?
Well, so, first of all, I mean this respectfully. I have no idea who you are. The other thing, that was a private matter. Ashley's a good person. We handled it privately. That's all I'm going to say about that. And finally, I just want to make a broader statement. I want to make a broader statement. My stance on Israel, I'm not going to back away on it. My stance on immigration is a mainstream position. And I think it's really incredible because the amount of people that have been here tonight that have shown hatred towards Rob, that have been shown hatred towards his ideas is pretty incredible. And so I really don't know who you are, and the fact you're getting as upset as you are.
Hey, you guys, who likes Cardi B? Cardi B?
You've advocated for homosexuality, said that there's a place for the gay agenda within the conservative movement. My question is, and you're also comfortable with transgenders and cross-dressers, I understand. So my question is there any point where conservatives should take a moral stance on Christian morality, or should we abandon it altogether? So in other words, what is what is your brand of conservatism doing to actually conserve Christian morality? If we're ceding to the left on transgender, gay rights, gay marriage, we don't want that in conservatism.
So you don't want him in the conservative movement? I just want to be very clear. Let's just be.
So you don't want me in the movement?
No. Hold on a sec. I want to be very clear. Hold on a sec. You're bringing some very charged language. I'm going to try to calm down the temperature in the room, so I can try to rationally understand an irrational position.
Why should we
Let me finish.
Our fundamental beliefs?
Let me finish. So, I'm a Christian. I believe the Bible is the greatest book ever to exist in the history of the world. And I believe Rob Smith has decency and dignity as an individual in the United States of America. Hold on a second. We're not a theocracy. We never have been.
And you know what? And wait a minute. Let me hop in here. Hold on, because I'm in it. He's addressing me. The thing that I don't understand. Well, I'm addressing you. How about that?
You don't even have the courage to address the gay man on stage.
So.
Conserved, my friend.
How about
he served in the military while you're a coward and you go to the front of the line.
How about
he went to Iraq to protect our freedoms while you go up talking about conserving our country.
Hello. My question is for Charlie Kirk. Why do you deny the attack on the USS Liberty, which is well documented by both U.S. and Israeli sources, in which resulted in the death and injuries of over 200 Americans?
I deny that it was a deliberate attack by the Israeli government. That's what I deny. Thank you for being here tonight. Is there another comment you'd like to make about that? Sure.
Some people would disagree. I would just like to ask one more quick thing. Would you be willing to debate somebody that is an actual America First conservative like Nick Fuentes?
No. Thank you.
When President Trump speaks, he mentions many of his successes in regards to specific races: unemployment rate among blacks, small business ownership among Hispanics and Asians. At the same time, he not only avoids mentioning the main demographic that voted for him, white America, but continues to promote a progressive post-racial politic that suggests white voters should be grouped only by their political beliefs. As a white man attempting to move past identity politics, much like yourselves, I am wondering how realistic it is to expect other racial groups to stop banding together based on ethnicity and move forward as we have, especially when there is no pressure to assimilate to an American identity beyond that of having access to and consuming the same products.
What's the question?
Well, I mean, I guess I kind of treat it the same. I kind of treat it the same as the last question a little bit, in that the best kind of justice, the best kind of government doesn't care what the color of your skin is, whether you're man, woman, black, white, and that's the direction we should go. Can I make you not think about identity, or can I make us, I can't do that, but I think we're heading in that direction, and I think there was a time, you know, look, my wife's dad's a Baptist, and my wife's mom is Catholic. It was a big deal. The Baptist wouldn't come to the wedding because he married a non-Christian, according to them, all right? Catholics and Protestants didn't get along. Now you'd almost never see that anymore. But you see people marrying across racial boundaries. You see, we are an amalgamation that all the bad stuff you can say about our country, about us not figuring out how to get along, is better than it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But some of it isn't my job either, because people come to me and they complain about cultural things. Like, you know what the biggest problem we have related to poverty in our country? It's having kids before you're married. I can't do anything about it. I can't make you not do whatever it takes to have children. That's your business. But preachers should talk about it, and your community should talk about it. I'm not saying you'll live in poverty. Some of it's through exhortation, trying to get people to do what we think is the right thing, and then some of it's through law. And being more libertarian-leaning, I'm for the law, doing very little at the federal government other than defending the country. It was about it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I reject this idea of dual loyalty. I have loyalty to ideas. And of course I love the Grand Canyon, I love the Rocky Mountains, and I love Boston, and I love Chicago. But if all that disappeared and all I had was ideas, and we were on an island, that's America. That's Israel. And that's what people have to realize, that America's just a placeholder for timeless ideas. And if you fall too in love with, you know, oh, the specific place and all this, that's not what it is. Israel
in Ohio.
Hey. The Ohio State University.
So my question is, if the president were to enact a policy that would completely benefit the United States and her citizens, but to the detriment of Israel, would you support it, yes or no?
Well, that's a false choice. Thank you for being here. I get a lot of questions about Israel in the last week. I will not apologize for my defense of our greatest ally in the Middle East. I will not apologize for the fact that I defend Israel against its critics, both domestically and abroad. And I'm always just very puzzled at times when I get the amount of attention that is on the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully visit their religious sites, the place that has respect for human rights, the place that the Knesset has representation for all three monotheistic religions, something that does not exist all throughout the Middle East.
Not to mention the only pro-gay place in the Middle East, by the way.
Yeah, so Rob, let's talk about that. How would most Middle Eastern countries treat you if they found out you were gay?
Let's see. You know, they can be like Iran, and they can force gay men to transition into women. They can be like other places in the Middle East where they stone gays to death in the streets, and they throw us off rooftops. And these are very real things that continue to happen. And so when I hear those criticisms of being pro-Israel that are coming from the left, that's really shocking to me. And this is why I call it the intersectionality cult, and this is why I say that intersectionality makes zero sense, because you have so many criticisms coming to Israel from the left, and Israel is the most pro-gay place in the Middle East. It is the only place where gays can be, it is the only place where gays can be open to be who they are without fear of being murdered for their sexual orientation.
And then to just answer your hypothetical that has no concrete example to this day, if any country would ever support a position that would be against our own interest, I would not support that. However, time and time again, Israel, and Rob, can you second this? They helped you when you were a veteran in Iraq with intelligence, supply lines, medical assistance.
Absolutely.
You know, when you were there. And so they stood side by side our efforts. And look, I was against the Iraq war, but I am glad that they helped you, when our servicemen and women went overseas there. And so I'm answering your, unlikely hypothetical with that answer. And I'll say this as final. I wish that the amount of attention on college campuses, there was 0.1% of the attention on other countries in the Middle East that Israel seems to always get. The only democracy, the only free enterprise country, and the country that most supports.
And so the question shouldn't be, well, how do we make human beings perfect, like the left sometimes goes on this fool's errand to do. So the left believes something totally different, the radical left. They believe that anything that human beings do wrong is a byproduct of a system that has been built that makes human beings do things wrong, most specifically private property. The left believes because you're able, I know it's hilarious, right? No, it really is. The fact that you're able to own private property, they believe that that brings out the worst in people. So the left, if you come at it from this lens, you're like, wow, that actually kind of makes sense. The left is trying to create perfect people by demolishing the current system that we have. Okay. So, but what's amazing about free enterprise capitalism is it forces you to be a good person. Now, are there bad people in the free market? Of course there are. And too many of those cheaters sometimes get away with it, but they get called out more times than not. However, to be rich and to be successful and to attain wealth, it's really hard to be a jerk over and over and over again. It actually requires for you to be decent. It requires you to tell the truth. It requires you to employ a lot of people and earn the trust of your employees. You know what's so amazing about a booming economy? Is that if a jerk tries to hire a bunch of people like, I'm not going to work for you. I'm going to go work with somebody across the street. I don't have to work for you. You're always disrespectful to me. I don't like the way you talk to you don't talk to us. All of a sudden, that voluntarism allows people.
How you guys doing? Thanks for coming to New Hampshire today. My question is from Mr. Kirk. I was just going to say, why are you so obsessed with pushing homosexuality into the conservative movement when America is a Christian country based on family values? Maybe Mr. Paul come in at the end of that, because he has said about the gay marriage question at the beginning.
Take exception with the word obsession. I'm not really sure where you would get that from, but I'm proud that I have some of the closest friends and some of our most productive and amazing spokespeople and employees for Turning Point USA are individuals that are gay, and I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with a conservative movement that embraces talented people that also happen to be gay.
Sure. So I have a question. So from America First perspective, why do we give $3.8 billion to Israel, which is more aid than we've given to Africa, more aid than we've given to South America, and more aid than we've given to the Caribbean combined, which is home to 1 billion poor people, especially when they deliberately attacked the USS Liberty in the 1970s?
That is incorrect. Do not peddle conspiracy theories in our event. That is not acceptable. Do not say that.
Okay, Dean Rusk disagrees with you, and he was the Secretary of State at the time, but that's fine. And then the second part is also, you have the Apollo incident in which they illegally stole weapons-grade uranium. The CIA has reports on this.
Anti-Zionist, anti-Semitic
No, I'm not
rhetoric.
anti-Israel. I'm just asking from America First perspective because it's not in our interest. They act against our interest.
Remember the short question part?
Sure. I mean, how is it in our interest that we give this money to Israel?
All right, so it's required that they have to buy American weaponry. Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where all three monotheistic religions are allowed to peacefully practice. It's the only country in the Middle East where all three monotheistic religions are represented in their government. It's the only place in the Middle East that has any appreciation for LGBT rights whatsoever. It's the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw homosexuals off the top of buildings when they find them. It is the only partner that we have in the fight against radical Islamic terrorism. And the subtext of your narrative could be extrapolated to say, well, why on earth?
I have a question. I'm going to try to make it as quick as I can. Establishment conservatives like yourself hold that national health care for Americans is too expensive, immoral, and doesn't work. Yet the U.S. gives Israel, Central America, Africa, and other regions billions in foreign aid. In particular, Israel received $3.8 billion to subsidize its immoral, expensive health care system, while Americans are made bankrupt by healthcare costs and pay a far higher effective tax rates than Israelis. My question, therefore, why would white Americans send their taxpayer dollars to fund Israel's healthcare while our mothers fight cancer, our brothers die of opioid overdoses, and the news of a coming baby brings not joy and happiness, but grave concern over thousands and thousands in future medical bills? How is that America first?
Thank you for being here tonight. So what is the foreign aid we give Israel spent on?
Bombs for blowing up children. But also their healthcare system, their wall, which we don't have.
That's quite a bold, inaccurate way to depict it.
I'm having a little fun.
So I'll answer the question for you. The foreign aid we give Israel is spent on American defense manufacturers that employ Americans and is built on a joint alliance. It's not built on their domestic welfare programs. Let me finish. Okay. So you believe that Israel is immorally existing in the Middle East, or you said something of the sort?
I don't believe I said that.
Okay, you said, well then...
I said that we're financing their healthcare system, their public healthcare system, which by your moral code is immoral.
So we're not. We're actually in a joint partnership where we give them certain amounts of money only if they spend it on U.S. defense manufacturers. So Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, millions of Americans are employed by the very countries that we have a joint partnership alliance with Israel. Let me say something else. I appreciate you being here tonight. I get a lot of questions about Israel. I'm a proud American. I'm a proud freedom-loving patriot. I believe in America first. But I also believe in the sovereignty of Israel, and I also am so perplexed and puzzled by the amount of hatred that goes against the country that has half of the Jews in the entire world, the only democracy in the Middle East, the only place where Muslims, Christians, and Jews all represent in the same government in the Middle East, the only country in the Middle East that doesn't throw gays off the top of buildings when they come in contact with them,